All right, family. Peace. How we doing today? Assalamu alaikum to all the ox and the people that's in the building. I'm currently finding myself on a spiritual journey right now. I just left Houston, and in Houston I had got some beautiful stories from a sister that lived on a farm, and she was telling me about how her family stayed next to the Poole family in Sandersville, Georgia. And my father and my mother had gave me a call, and they said that they wanted to visit Sandersville, Georgia. And that they didn't know I just got this story from the sister, but they wanted to go down to Sandersville, Georgia to visit the hometown of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And today, of course, I find myself here in that hometown, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to tap into the energy of where he was born, right? And he, one of the greatest minds in America history, right? And in the world's history. Now, how can I easily qualify that statement to say such a thing, right? How could I have the audacity to say such a thing? He was born in a place called Deep Step, Georgia. This place had maybe about 100 or so residents. He was born to a family where his parents were slaves. And they end up becoming, of course, farmers. His family was that of farmers, and his father was a Baptist preacher. Now, he had a third grade education. For whatever reason, they couldn't afford the education or didn't have the opportunity to go there, and they had to work instead. And with this third grade education and his knowledge of scripture, he became a preacher and he was a farmer. Now, he said that, I remember I was once a farmer plowing mule, and now one of the world's greatest scientists. And see what time brings everything. Now, today we go focus because people are saying there was people before him and things of that nature. Yes, there were many people before. There was always and there always will be people before other people. But let's focus so we can get through history, because this is our history. Whether you have an issue, a connotation that is attached to this man or not, you have to know our history in an unbiased manner. We study Julius Caesar, right? We study Cyprico Africanus. We study Marcus Aurelius. We study George Washington. We study a multitude of white leaders, and we just listen to learn their history, to learn the wisdom that exists in the moves that they made. So what I'm attempting to do for those who may be triggered because they don't know the history is to educate you for a moment in time so that you may learn something. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? Born in Sandersville, Georgia with this third grade education, he met a man that was preaching one day. And as this man was preaching, he thought that he knew who that man was. And he whispered to that man and said, I know who you are, right? And he was telling him that you basically the one that was supposed to come to us. And that man told him, hey, keep that a secret just between us for now, right? I don't want everybody to know. Now, the man that taught him was by the name of Master Fuad Muhammad, right? And in the Nation of Islam, as we believe that he came in the person of Master Fuad Muhammad, Allah came in the person of Master Fuad Muhammad. Now, that would be a lot to be able to understand for those who are just coming into the initiate knowledge and understanding of what that means. But I reserve your thought process on this understanding. Here's a man with a third grade education that was taught and mentored, right, by another man for 3.5 years. And after getting his 3.5 year education with his third grade education, he had the ability and the readiness to go out and change the world. He had a mission. His mission was to deliver the message to the people, right? And he 100% completed that mission by delivering that message, which is why he was called the messenger, right? So many people get it mixed up. He's not called a prophet, he's called a messenger. And by his mission, he was successful in that deliverance of that mission, which was to deliver a message. Now, here's a man that was born in a time where they didn't even have cars, right? He born in 1897, right? Yet he started to teach knowledge, right, of space engineering. He started to break down astronomy, right? When he didn't have a telescope to look beyond. He thought about the knowledge of Pluto, right? And he was never once attacked for his knowledge of science. The white man never once came and took to that man and said, you don't know what you're talking about, right? Because the white man was sitting there learning and listening the whole time, because they said, we don't know where he's getting this knowledge from, right? And he challenged you that if I'm wrong, then I'll give you 10,000 out my brother's pocket, meaning that he had pull out that money and give it directly to you. That 10,000 was a lot back in those days for making a mistake or having an error. But of course, nobody ever collected upon that. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not a man who people say he was historically wrong or scientifically inaccurate. People don't like the connotations that are built up by the propaganda against him. The man that I'm talking about is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The reason I wear my crown today. Now, did he create the sun, moon, and stars? No, sir. No. But he popularized it in that day because he came out shining with that sun, moon, and stars as he taught black people. And even his proponents and people that disliked him. This man with this third grade education, teaching science, linguistics, right? Teaching neuroscience, teaching psychology, teaching biology, right? Teaching health, food, science. He had a book, How to Eat to Live, right? He taught physics. Where did this man get this knowledge from? See, we as a people don't stop to think about these things sometimes. That where did this man get this knowledge from? Right? We don't even think like, oh, this was a man, like, we take it for granted. That because of the knowledge that he had an unprecedented ability out of any other leader that have come in any other time to be able to create some of the greatest men and women throughout history. His wife, whom I believe he met at the age of 19. She was 19 at the time. Who many people consider that to be very controversial because he was considerably older. Her name was Mother Tanetta. And she went on to become one of the greatest scholars of the Nation of Islam. She developed something in her wisdom and her teachings because she said that he told her to go to Mexico to go find a new knowledge. And she went out to Mexico. She had to fled because there were people that was against her, right? Some people wanted to kill her, right? So her and her son, they was out in Mexico. But if it wasn't for her, she produced the 19 code. And I studied a lot of her teachings. And she was a very wise woman. That this man did not just produce men, he produced very wise women that was under his estate as well. And so through the knowledge that he had, he produced, of course, Dr. Khalid, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right? There would be no Dr. Wesley, there would be no Rizza Islam, there would be no Ben X, there would be no 19 Keys, right? There would be no Nuri Muhammad, right? Yes, we ship all over, Brother Rico. And so there are also a multitude of others like Sister Ava, right? There would have been no Black Panthers because they got their studies from the FOI. Right? Even hip hop, when you're going to study in Knowledge Born, you're studying Rakim and a multitude of hip hop that came from, the nation giving you that knowledge. There'd be no 7%ers, 5%ers, there'd be no J Electronica, right? And there'd be no Muhammad Ali. There would be so many things that would have to disappear. This man did not exist in the history of America. It just wouldn't be here at all. And I don't think most people understand the wheelhouse of connections that are made from the lineage that was born from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But because he was an enemy of America, and because our people are so Americanized, that he became an enemy of our people. When you don't even know just how to study the importance of this man in his history, there will be no Malcolm X. But you love Malcolm, but you don't know how to study and how to look. So, unfortunately, our history is destroyed by our emotions. That we disregard our entire history, right? And the progress that we made. That if it wasn't for the mind of this man, most of you all would not have the knowledge of self at all. That even some of the people that later on went in a different direction, they started there. Dr. Sebi. There would be no Dr. Sebi if it wasn't for no Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Think about that for a second. Dr. Sebi was an FOI. He started and became an FOI. He sat and ate with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he accredited the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for being the first one to bring the health science of food to black people in America, changing their diet and being concerned with their way of eating. This man started off in Georgia on a farm where they ate a lot of pigs and chitlins and a multitude of different things. America had to change its institutions and its foundations because of this man. So without knowing the history of our leaders, and we can break down all the history of our leaders, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad can be seen as the single greatest, or even one of the single most important leader of all time, just by the effects of his succession that still exists today. During his time, he amassed millions of dollars. He had his followers working to where they can pull in resources to where they was able to buy planes. They was able to buy banks. They had dozens of schools. They had farms, right? They had an aviation school, a real estate trust. They had media and newspaper that went out all over. They had mosques and institutions all over the planet Earth. Even an Egyptian leader, when Muhammad Ali went to go visit Egypt and went to visit other countries, he did so as a liaison, right? Under the tutelage of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and those leaders would give him great gifts to give back to the nation because he had friends all across. And in Theology of Time, he say, look, you go out in the world, I promise to do that. But this Egyptian leader gave Muhammad Ali a golden statue. He gave him this golden statue, and he said, bring that back to the messenger. He gave that to the messenger. He had friends in Japan. The Japanese media would cover the Honorable Elijah Muhammad all the time and ask him his thoughts and his wisdom upon this nation, because those Japanese needed to know. He was, of course, against the war. He had connections and ties with the Black Dragon Society at that time. He had communications with the Ku Klux Klan because they wanted the same thing, separation for their people. The same reason that the Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey had communications with them devils. But his goal was always to teach you how to do for self. He was a chess master in his mind, the way he was able to move. And he focused on building your own world, because he knew that as long as the political structure was under white supremacy, and he said that one day we had to get into politics, the politics they giving us, where they robbing us. What's going on with the God?
Peace to the God. Can you hear me through these headphones?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, God.
Look, I'm here. I'm on the corner of Malcolm X Boulevard and 116,
Yes, sir.
where this mosque is at. And I'm hearing your dialogue, you know, and I'm wondering, as I'm listening to you, and this is Little Harlem on 116, right?
Yes,
We
sir.
have so many of the family from different African nations, but in particular West African nations, Senegal, Ghana, things of that nature. And I'm like, what do you think needs to be done that could foster those relationships, those key vital relationships that you speak of, being that we are part of something that's an international phenomenon called hip hop? It's a cultural bridge to places, especially like Japan. What do you think can be done to foster those relationships and rebuild those bridges? If nothing else, our cultural ties should be stronger, more so now than ever.
I would say ownership, because they respected the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because of not just what he said, but what he had built. That he had respected nations because he had built up institutions, and that institution had ownership and things that he could amass. So when he talked about doing for self, he did for self. And so when he went over there, they looked at this man and was like, he's talking this talk, but he's walking it at the same time. That he's able to bring together black people in America and unify, and he has political position, which gives him rulership and power. And so not only that they just wanted to talk to him, they had to, when they think about the relations between America and this country and them trying to find a foothold in this country to have any sort of leverage. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad made himself a political piece through the power that he had and his ability to unify people, that when he spoke, the world listened. Black people listened. That they knew that at any point in time, he had 1,000 soldiers that would listen, that the newspaper would pick up the words that he said, that this man was making a mark that would be reverberated throughout history and time. So if you're thinking about who are the most important people in that time and what are the most important infrastructures and institutions, they had no choice but to say, yo, let's talk to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because this is the man that is challenging America, and this is a man that America has a challenge with. And we know that Black America is a very great, powerful, peacefully skilled, innovative, industrial people, right? And they're going to need those Black Americans to go to war for them. And we don't want to fight them. Let's go talk to him. because that's going to be our way of helping us win the war. So when we look at America's enemies and America's allies, how do we have any leverage? The only reason they go, why you think they talk to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan today, and he goes in there and speaks to other leaders such as Iran and other places, and they have him speak in front of thousands of their people because of the power that he has here in America. So what I'm saying is, without any ownership and rulership, they have no reason to come talk to us, right? Because here they're talking to a body with no head.
Mm.
You understand me? And so they have to be able to reason, and that reason has to be able to take in effect, and they have to be able to utilize that. So it's not until that we, and this is why the world is waiting for a collective organization of black intellect to come together under the same agenda and purpose and propose to the world what their vision is. And then we will find somebody that speaks back as a satellite to say, listen, we believe in what you all are doing. We like what you all have started. Media picks up things so fast anytime they see mass collective organization. The Black Messiah Law, right? Find somebody who can speak, who is eloquent, right? Who is charismatic and who can communicate that to the people, right? So
Right.
once that exists, the world picks it up fast because they're always looking for that Black Messiah. And that
Yes.
Black Messiah today will be a group of people, not one, because after the ascension of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we will see a new time come and a new type, a role of leadership that will take place,
Right.
not from a singular individual, but from a collective group.
Now, let me say this, because somebody asks, what can they do to move past the conflict between Elijah and Malcolm X? As I stand here on Malcolm X Boulevard and 116, you know, um, there's no Elijah Muhammad Boulevards around this country. You know what I'm saying? And this can only be a testament to the work that Elijah Muhammad did and the foundation that he set and the platforms that he provided for charismatic leaders to come forward. So what you would need to do to get past that is don't fall into the
You
divide
can't
and conquer technique that they've always pulled.
you can't get past it, brother. There is no getting past it. It is not a beef between you. It is you're talking about something that happened 50 years ago that you're talking about getting past. You're not a part of the Nation of Islam, for one. You don't even follow most of the part. People don't follow us, right? And if you follow Malcolm X's teaching, then you follow on the Elijah Muhammad teachings, right? And neither one of those men would find any agreement in you taking an emotional stance on history as your reason of not unifying with your brother. So there is no stance to be able to take in that. That's history. You know how many beefs that exist between historical leaders? We don't jump in between old beef and respark it in a new time as an excuse for why I can't unite with my brother and build for the future generations to come. Don't make Malcolm X your excuse why you ain't building with your brother, why you ain't eating right, doing right, moving right, and having some ownership and
Right.
rulership in this world. Don't do that. That's an excuse. That's not a reality. Because they wouldn't have
Right.
done that.
There was something that was powerful and magnetic about that brother's information that made many of individuals gravitate towards him and transform their lives. You know what I'm saying? Once again, I am in Harlem, right? This is the home of the dog food. I can't tell you how difficult it is to break somebody's addiction off of heroin. You
Mm,
feel me? These people were able to do that with information and make crooked men upright. So we need to start looking past whatever personal conflicts leadership has with, the people who come under their leadership,
right.
and start looking at the fact that the information was powerful enough that it made a whole nation stand up at a time when melanated people was bowing their heads in the sand. You should want to know what that magnetism was. You feel me?
And think about this for a second. Those same people would cap and vote for a Donald Trump and a Joe Biden, but they have issue still to this day from a 50-year-old history. We not even go. It's not a beef. It's a history to this day, and that the United States of America plays such a significant role, right, in that history. That the root of our issue that we dealing with is still the intellect of this white man and defeating him. And there was no greater opponent against white patriarchal intellect than the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And there was no greater speaker of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that became an opponent of this white man's intellect than Malcolm X. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when you read his books, it is a simple understanding. A third grader can understand it if they read it enough, because he had a third grade's education. So he took math concepts and he spoke it plainly. But the analogies and the concepts that Malcolm X was able to make with the teachings that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave him, right, platform those teachings in a way to where they can rival scholarship. And so what you do with that is you take the frequencies, you take the mind of Elijah, the oratory skill of Malcolm X, you take the scholarship of Dr. Wesley, you take that poise, that charisma, and that fire spirit of Dr. Khaled. You take the ability to be able to have longevity and to build a nation and amass millions of people together as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right? And you bring the frequencies of those black gods that existed here on this planet Earth. You don't pit them against each other like they playing cards. You understand me? No, you tap in so you can evolve upon those attributes and characteristics that each one had that define their legacy throughout history. And we teach that and we put that into the next generation, not further discourse and issues and situations when you weren't here in that climate nor time and you don't know where you would have stood on what side. Because if your mama was on some drugs and she got reformed and redeemed by a man's teachings, right? And there was anything as a proponent against those teachings, what side would you have stood on history? You can't tell me where you would have been because you wasn't there. History tells a different story each and every time when it is whispered years later. So when we think about what's happening today in this time, when black men and women come together, it ain't got nothing to do with the beef of yesterday. It has everything to do with the collective organization of today.
Well said. And with that, brother,
Thank you, brother.
I'm gonna definitely let you get back to what you do. You know what I'm saying? And you do it well, so I'll be in the audience tapping
Yes,
in.
sir. I'm in
All
Sandersville,
right,
Georgia, soaking up the energy.
that's right. That's right. You know what I'm saying? When you find that location,
I've been looking, so I put out some information. I'm hoping somebody get back to me on the exact place that I should go visit, because there's some places that are historical here that have been here since like the 1800s. So I know for a fact that at least he had to pass by and had to go to these places, such as even old gas stations, one that was here since 1802. That is no longer open, but there's the bench, there's the gas station pump, right? And so the history of this place resonates, but it's a plain place. And I think that's really the whole point of it, is that you don't have to come from sophisticated beginnings and luxury beginnings. You don't have to have this
right?
scholarship beginning. That man
And
wasn't
and
into his
yeah,
well into his
let's
40s until he became who he was.
let's think about this. A man who comes from the South, from a very simple, meager beginning, right? Created an organization that was able to impact and take over these complex streets of New York City, right? Who normally, this is the fast city, they fast talking, they fast moving, you
Right.
understand? But that man's simplicity and the effectiveness of his message and his demonstration was able to rival these very same streets where other men from the South, like a Frank Lucas and the rest of them, they brought the dope up here, you know what I'm saying, on these very streets. So it's a beautiful story. It's one of our beautiful stories. You know what I mean? And these are powerful shoulders that we stand on and continue to do the work. So tap into that energy, speak to that ancestor. And I know that they're looking down on you from the mother plane. You understand? They're very
And
much
and, and I want to
appreciative of
say
your
this,
demonstration.
because you just reminded me of something, that how simple he spoke, right?
Hmm.
And it's interesting now when you in Harlem, and it's now that people try to make it in the most complex manner to be the most charismatic and great leader. And I think it's because of that it started off so simple, that he took the problem and he said, here's the solution. Here's the issue. And it became this aggressive competitive nature that exists in consciousness to where we're trying to be the smartest sounding person rather than to have sound smart solutions. And so
Mm,
therefore today you don't get to listen to a person that can be plain, that give you clear instructions and tell you exactly what to
yeah,
do.
right.
You need him to
Or
sound like a scientist rather than to be a scientist.
or that takes their time and talks, that has a calmness in their spirit. They like,
Right.
brother, what you so calm for? We supposed to be
Yeah.
moving like, like, nah, that's not necessary.
Nah,
You feel
that
me?
don't make it
Like
right because you said faster.
we, yeah, we're gonna take our time with this, and the solutions are very simple. You understand?
Right. Right.
Yeah,
So
sound smart solutions. That's a hashtag right there.
yes. Smart
Style.
sound solutions, not sound smart solutions.
Smart sound solutions. Okay.
Because it's a lot of sound smart solutions, but not a lot of smart sound solutions.
Smart sound solutions.
But brother, I
Indeed.
appreciate your time. I don't want to take too much more of it.
Indeed. I appreciate you as well, bro. All right.
Yes, sir.
Peace, God.
Peace to the God.
Salute.
All right. So yesterday I was telling you all about um actually I'm gonna say that for the end of the live. But listen, the economic foundation, when we look at leaders like Dr. Claude Anderson and his economic solutions, and we also look at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his economic blueprint, we have the wisdom already bottled up that we need. You understand me? That we were left the blueprints in order to win. And so when we look at Dr. Cress Welsing, we look at Minister Ava Muhammad, when we look at Mother Tanetta, when we look at Queen Afua, when we look at Shahrazad Ali, right? We have the wisdom in the men and women that existed here before us, and there's a form of ancestor that exists today. And earlier today, I talked about, and you can go to the bullet of the ballot, and Malcolm X talked about, you know, don't vote these devils unless they basically have your interest, that they have an agenda that is there for you, right? I talk about the dollar of the ballot, that the dollar is our voting system. Now, you have to understand that the word voting, right, comes from that Latin word votum, right, which also can be traced back to Roman religion, right, when it was talking about the praising of a deity, right? And so even when the Romans were taken over by Christian practices and beliefs, they still practiced the same way Christians practiced paganistic religions when it came to the practice of Christmas and other ones, because they didn't want the people to get rid of that. It made it easier for them to transition over to Christians by allowing them to keep certain rituals. The same thing happened, right? When those same Christians coming out of Rome, you understand me, weren't worshiping those particular multi gods and deities, but they kept certain practices such as voting, right? Or they called it votum. And when we look at that today, they did it for the good of the republic, right? And when you look at Caesar, Caesar gave the people distractions. That's all he did, right? Now, in the movie Gladiator, Caesar wanted to get rid of the republic because he felt like it should just lie on him, right? And the issue that exists today is that the distractions are the new the gladiator halls that they gave them blood and sports. They kept the people distracted. You understand me? By giving them blood and death, right? Constantly distracted by the fact that they were poor and impoverished, that they actually had no power, that Caesar was in the republic were eating very well, that they were constantly going to war to conquer people, yet the people were still living, right, a deathly meager life, that they were poor. So here you had the Romans went out all throughout the lands to conquer all these nations, yet they still had poverty that existed right there in Rome. And that's the same thing with America as modern day Rome. That we don't fought all these wars. You understand me? That we gonna steal billions and trillions of dollars in oil. That we stole all of those billions during the war of Iraq. Yet the poverty that exists in America is still prevalent. But as long as we can give you some distractions and feed you some entertainment, some escapism, maybe you forget about that long enough so we can continue to rule you. And if we give you anything, because then Caesar would throw bread at the crowd, and the crowd would get happy. And Caesar would create heroes for the people, and the crowd would get happy. and they would thank Caesar. But Caesar had the power the whole time to take his gold, you understand me, and to change the infrastructure, you understand me, of his republic, so that he could actually feed the people and everybody can live a quality life. But Caesar's never had in his rule and his politics to give the people heaven on earth. So they had to wish for heaven. They had to wish for heaven. And so we know that the root word of voting comes from the Latin word votum, meaning to wish. So here we are today, back wishing. Caesar is back having us wish for something that he could do for us. America has the ability to give the people what they want. If you look at the government as a whole, instead of this two-party system, then you see reality for what it is. That it's the infrastructure of the Congress, the governments, the senators. And they just want you to continue to wish. In another 4 years, maybe your wish will come true. And in the meantime, we'll distract you until it's time to wish again. And maybe you can wish away it all. Am I protesting? See, here's an issue. As I speak, we don't know how to take history and learn the lessons and facts from it. That if I give you a history lesson on voting, if I give you a history lesson on the two candidates, someone will get mad because you can't have the power of discernment at the same time. If you want to vote, I'm never going to stop you. That's your physical right, right? You have that until your voting rights expire and somebody else gives you more voting rights as black people in America. But if you can't take history, right, and still make a cognitive decision and make it, and you feel like you're making a good decision, and there's something wrong with the decision that you have, because that means you have to make your decisions in darkness. That means that your ignorance has to be your bliss. Now, I would never follow one of those leaders that tell you to vote without giving you everything else to do, the solutions, because it is a do for self. It is a do for self type of time, right? Your family will not gain wealth from voting. We can go look at the Platinum Plan of America that Trump just laid out, and it's some BS. Any plan, number one, that talks about minorities instead of specifically black people in America is some BS. And any plan that is talking about giving to these inner city schools in America that are still right on instead of independent schools where we can educate ourselves is some BS. It's just more bread that they throwing at you. That's all. Caesar just throwing bread while he giving you more distractions. That's all it is. It's more bread. And the Congress was wise enough to be able to tell you what you want to hear. See, they had the wisdom. They studied the scrolls, right? They studied the teachings and the philosophies. So when they spoke to the people, they spoke in a matter that sounded eloquent. And the people voted in the Republic, but the Republic really didn't care too much about the people. Caesar said, as long as I can control the people, I don't need the Republic. So you have to study Rome and understand America. This is the modern day Rome. So no, I'm not telling you to do anything. Who am I to tell you what to do? I'm only giving you something to think about. And if you make that decision after listening to the information, then that means that perhaps you are now wise upon the decisions that you're making. If my father, mother, brother, sister, uncle voted today, I have no issue with them whatsoever once they come out that voting booth. That's still my mother, father, sister, brother, uncle. If you go and vote, you still my brother, sister. I don't care. But the moment that you start believing in the system and you believe that your wish will come true, and this vow that you've made to the Republic, right, or the so-called democracy, which we don't have a democracy whatsoever, the moment you start believing in that, I have an issue with your cognitive dissonant behavior, knowing the history of America, but behaving in patterns and ways that seem to be indifferent from your intellect. And so as we continue to believe in these things, we give power to structures and systems that weren't built for us. So the structures and systems that are built for us is the production of business and empire and family and institutions. I've never heard a politician get up there and start talking about, hey, black people, black America, y'all need to have more life insurance policies because they keep killing y'all. And you know you can bankrupt these industries that are connected to these life insurance policies if your life actually has more value attached to it because they consider you to be property. that the oldest institutions in America are some of these insurance companies that's historically been attached to black bodies, that slave masters have always been able to reap the benefits of it, that we can put policies on ourselves and each other, and we can create self-banking, tax-free shelter systems to where we don't even need to utilize their banking industries. You want solutions, I give them to you, but you got to be willing to listen. You got to be willing to listen. That if you want to create mass land exodus, right, and create institutions and create our own business and create our own essential products, well, we don't go for them to another toothbrush. We don't go for them from toothpaste. We don't go to them for water. We don't go for them from salt or pepper for a goddamn thing that we take and import and export from other countries, and anything that we can produce for ourselves, we will produce for ourselves. Therefore, we create industry. That industry creates jobs. Those jobs create control and rulership, because the one who controls the workforce is the ruler. Because you got to go to them from a job for your livelihood so that you can eat and have your basic living standards taken care of, not alone your wealth standards. You understand me? So I'm not sure what y'all think we do at the wealth standard, but this is what we do. We got Derek Grace coming in here, and he's going to be speaking about his wealth standard and how he got to his 7 figures. Inshallah, it's going to be a powerful webinar. Please do not miss that. We ain't bringing in our brother for nothing. We also will be going part 2 of our banking spending value plan. We also went over the mind management keys last time. It was one of the most powerful ones I believe that we had was our last webinar, when we did the mindset management audit. And everybody that took that should be able to find themselves in a corrective state of thinking afterwards as they work to apply themselves so that they can be in a positive mindset. But it's not easy, because some of us are procrastinators instead of being self-willed. Some of us have a great self-will to where when we say something, it will be because we said it. That if I tell you that September 27, 2021, that I'm going to post a receipt of $1 million in the bank. No, I'm going to post a receipt of $1 million worth of gold. Now, if you know me, the type of man that keeps my word and I go for everything charged like a bull ahead, you don't second guess that, because you know I'm the type of person that's willful and that will get it done. But then there's other people that say, well, I'm going to have that too. And you look at them like, you ain't about to do nothing. You're going to switch up your goals 20 times before that time comes. And then when that time comes, you're making a new goal instead of actually bringing into existence a goal. Think about that for a second. That are you that type of person? Matter of fact, I'm going to pull the list out for some of y'all. Man, I'm going to go ahead and help you out. I'm going to go ahead and help you out. Man, since I'm getting paid for the lives now, that y'all know Apple, y'all know Facebook, Instagram always give me the new stuff, right? And they not even taking a cut. So I don't mind going live and teaching you, because I ain't teaching you for free now. I ain't teaching you for free. Y'all paying for this work. You understand me? Join the Wealth Standard. You can also go to the Bullion Exchange. I bought some gold from them. We also have an exchange that we work with. Once you join the Wealth Standard, we give you a gram of silver, and you can utilize them as well. You can start your eToro account. October 3rd, we have a cryptocurrency conference that we're going to be giving a link out, and everybody who's attending this cryptocurrency conference will be getting $100 in Bitcoin. So please, we're going to be paying you to learn something of the digital currencies. You understand me? Now, this particular gold here, I designed this and I made this. So if you want to get something designed and made, you can also hit me up. You understand me? These are my own designs. Got a couple more people's coming in. So listen, I'm about to pull it up for you. All right. So I want you all to put a plus sign or a minus sign if you have this trait. And if you don't have this trait, put a minus sign. Now, don't lie to yourself, right? This is all about self-development. It says you can subscribe to the Wealth Standard by clicking the link in my bio. So if you do it while we're live right now, I'll give you a good shout out. It says the plus sign. Seeks mentorship. Patterns your mind after someone who has already done it to get the same or similar results. Right? So if you're the type of person that doesn't know what to do and you automatically find someone who does know how to do it and you try to make them your mentor, whether they're your digital mentor, right? Or whether they're a physical mentor in proximity to you that can actually teach you. Now, your digital mentor is someone you might not have physical access to, but you're sitting there learning every single thing about this person and how they move. You understand me? The people that they talk to, the way that they define things, their entire pattern of thinking. And when you take on someone's pattern of thinking, it allows you to think in the same manner and capacity as they do so you can get the same or similar results. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, you just keep it rolling. Now, on the minus side of this, and think about it, because sometimes you may flip-flop in between and you can be on both. It's okay. You understand me? It says those who despise the truly successful and always skeptical of success stories. You want quick results and don't value the process. Now, now listen, we know that has been us before. We think everything is a scam, right? We think nothing really works out. You understand me? When we see people with too much, we be like, I don't know about them. We kind of despise them a little bit. You understand me? So you find yourself sometimes listening to these true success stories and be like, I don't know, bro, bullshit. He ain't really do that. Why we think that? Because we don't think we can do it sometimes. So therefore, we skeptical of their success. And we want the quick results because we seen somebody else do it. We like, man, I want this fast. I don't want to have to go through all of them steps. I don't want to have to go through your whole life story journey to get what you got. Please tell me how you did it so I can get it fast. What's a quicker way to get it done? Yeah. Now, the point of this audit, and we gave a superior breakdown during the course because I was able to give the full. And this is actually going to be in my next book. The next book is going to be crazy with a lot of concepts. But your goal is to be on one side of the spectrum completely. Your goal is to not be on the other side. So you work on your negatives until you only have positives. All right. Now this one, I love this one. One who has a powerful imagination / vision, able to see, hear, and feel themselves in a better position before the reality of it. Able to see themselves so greatly it feels like deja vu by the time they accomplish their goals. Now think about this for a second before you put that plus sign, right? Before you put that plus sign, think about this. One who is able and has a powerful imagination and vision. When we hear success stories about people, we hear about, oh, I remember when I was a child, I envisioned this, right? People that have such a strong imagination has to be positive. Why? Because they're already living it in real time. Nobody around them can see it, but they've imagined themselves in that position a million times before, but they even got there. That by the time they live it, they feel like deja vu, like I've been here. But that's why imagination is more powerful than wisdom. Because here you can have a child that is poor, living in the ghettos of America, imagining themselves into wealth, working and executing until the reality of their vision comes into fruition. Imagination, only human beings. No, animals don't have that ability to think ahead. The next day, I can think about what the next day will be. And then it comes into fruition. That I can think about an invention to create. I thought about these crowns. I drew it on a piece of paper. And I said, I want the world to be crowned in different countries. I want to go around crowning leaders and kings and queens and celebrities and young guys and have them lined up around the corner to get crowned. And from my imagination, it was brought into fruition. Now, on the negative side of this, right? Lack of imagination. Can't see themselves beyond their current paradigm. Lacks discipline to bring vision into fruition. Believes only in practical wins. Must see it to believe it. Now we know, come on, let's get some honesty on the minuses now. Let's get some honesty. Can't see themselves beyond their current paradigm. Some people think that where they at right now is it for them. Like, hey man, maybe this is all God intended for me. This job, this place I'm at, this family that I have, the places that I visit and travel to, the mindset that I have, right? The relationships that I have, this genius, my potential, my legacy, maybe my story won't get much better than this. Maybe I have to accept my conditions. Maybe some of us are meant to just live, right? in an average and possible mediocre way. And there's other people who are just destined to be great, and I'm not one of them. Some people who think like that, right? That's why imagination is so important, because what happens when one imagines that thoughts are frequencies, little wavelengths, frequencies, electricity. So they're frequencies. And every thought is a frequency vibrating, right, at a certain level. And the moment that you are thinking it, this frequency, this vibration, this electricity is real. That the formation of reality is just electrical vibration, right? Just fast vibrating molecules, atoms, right? Being formed into existence. Slowed down light, produce mass. That if I can see it, everything is created twice, once in the mind and once in reality. So if I can see it, it's already a reality in the womb of my mind. It's already a reality. So what must I do? I must produce the reality that's in my mind. So once it's here, it's the same way of a person thinking about eating some food. That thought is going to vibrate a frequency. And that frequency is a feeling. Emotions are feelings. They're vibrations and frequency, every emotion. So now it's driving my will to produce that frequency, because I'm thinking about it so much, I got to live it outward so that I can experience it. So through your imagination and the production of vision in your mind, that it produces your everything that you say, everything you speak, every movement, to produce your will into reality. So you don't have to think in practical terms, and you don't have to see it to believe it, as long as you can envision it. Listen, join the Wealth Standard. We go over about 9 different ones. You get access to the Mind Management Keys, the new America Business Mastery course, the Forex, the trading, the stock options, a multitude of other different things. I'm about to get on the road with the family. I'm going to holler at y'all a little live. We're going to go later. Again, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thanks for everybody who tapped in with the badges. I just wanted to test out this feature to see, who would support and everything. But I definitely want to thank y'all for being a part of this live. Everybody can tap into the Crown. Go tap into the website to find some history, and go follow crowns19_ and click the link in the bio to be a part of the next Wealth Standard webinar, and you get access to everything. And if you join before October 3rd, you get access to the cryptocurrency conference, and you get the $100 in Bitcoin as well. Listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all as always. Y'all be peaceful. Y'all be powerful, man. Continue to